Okay, welcome back. Non-governmental organization is, of course, private organizations because it's non-government organizations. Okay, another important question. Who would support the amicus curiae briefs? Who would support the amicus curiae briefs more? The developing countries or the developed countries? Maybe it's on the next slide. Okay. The United States fully supported amicus curiae briefs. What do you think, China? Will China support this kind of briefs? I don't think so. There are two main reasons for the antagonism. Antagonism means be strongly against. Okay, antagonism against amicus curiae briefs. These two are the reasons. You can have a browse of it. And there is another important question is here. Look here. What's the question like? This is the answer. Then what's the question like? It's like this. To what extent can the panel refer to the information in the amicus curiae briefs? To what extent can the panel refer to the information in the amicus curiae briefs? The answer is the panel deemed it appropriate to refer to this information in its findings to the extent that one of the parties had cited or referred to the brief during panel proceedings. To put it another way, if neither party referred to or cited the information in the amicus curiae briefs, then can the panel refer to this information in its findings? Yes or no? You're lost, but the answer is no. Okay, we'll move on to subsection F. Okay. This part, I think we will not mention them. We will go to subsection B, consultations directly. Okay. Consultations. Just now, we mentioned only the general observations in WTO dispute settlement. Now let's move on to the first stage of WTO dispute settlement. It's called a consultation. Consultation is something like a negotiation. Okay? There are only the parties involved. Then, question number one, what is the primary object and purpose of consultations? Object and purpose. The consultations can serve as an informal pre-trial discovery mechanism. their primary object and purpose is to settle the dispute amicably, means friendly, amicably. Okay, good. That is the prime object and purpose of consultations. Another important point is, in panel proceedings, there must be a document. It's called panel request. Panel request. What does a panel request mean? Last week, I told you, right? Next week, I'll ask you, what is a panel request? You may react instinctively. What is a panel request? Can you have a try? What is a panel request? I'll give you a choice question, okay? The panel request is a request made by the panel, or a panel for the a request for the establishment of a panel. The first one or the second one?
Second.
Good. You're not lost. Very good. The second one, right? Then this basic important instrument, what's included in this important instrument and panel request? The terms of reference will be included. What does this word mean? Terms of reference. Never interpret it literally. Terms of reference means, in Chinese it's called means what issues can be decided by the panel. What issues can be decided by the panel means terms of reference. In the panel request, terms of reference must be included in it. Okay. Then the question is, listen, something related to the consultations. In the request for consultations, the parties will also have to list the terms, not the terms of the reference, but the claims. In the request for consultations, the complainant must also list the claims. My question is, the claims listed in the request for consultations are similar to the terms of reference in the panel request? Find the answer. Look here. A precise and exact identity. Identity means the same. Between the specific measures and claims of WTO inconsistency that were the subject of consultations, and those identified in the panel request is not needed. they are not necessarily identical or the same. Okay. Good. Okay, let's move on to next page. For this slide, there are several questions. Question number 1. Can the measures or claims not listed in the consultation request be within the panel's jurisdiction? I'll repeat it again. Rather important question. I'll repeat it again. Can the measures or claims not listed in the consultation request, not listed in the consultation request, be within the panel's jurisdiction? Yes or no? Good. That's correct. If the measures or claims are not listed in the consultation request, they can never appear in the panel request. So, be cautious, be careful when you are drafting your consultation request, right? You can never be too careful, right? You must be careful enough. Okay. And the consultations is a must before the panel proceedings, yes or no? The consultations proceedings is a must before the panel proceedings, yes or no? Is a necessary step, right? Yeah. This is something we mentioned in the course of general theory, right? Consultations proceedings is a must before panel proceedings. Good. Next question. Under what circumstances can the member that requested the consultations proceed directly to request the establishment of a panel? I mean, when can the panel be established? Right now, we are in the proceedings of consultations. One of the parties would like to proceed to next stage, to the panel proceedings. Under what circumstances can this happen? Here, the answers are here. For example, the complainant filed a consultation request, but the respondent does not respond within 10 days. Then the complainant can proceed to next proceedings, panel proceedings. Good. What else? What else circumstances? Number 2 is does not enter into consultations. The third scenario is the dispute is not resolved within 60 days of the receipt of the request for consultations. Okay, 3 scenarios. The proceedings will move on to next stage. That is the panel proceedings. Okay. The last important point on consultations is here, the outcome of consultations. Okay. On this slide, there is an important question. Can the consultations between the parties continue during the panel proceedings? I'll give you the example. Right now, we are in the panel proceedings. Does that mean the consultation proceedings has already ended? Has already been ended? Yes or no? No, good. Because the consultations between the parties can continue during the panel proceedings. Okay, good. What does it look like? Something like that, ADR, right? Because in mediation, there are three parties. There's a mediator involved, but in consultations, there are only the disputants, the parties involved. Okay, there are no third parties involved. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the panel proceedings, stage number 2, panel proceedings. Question: can the panels modify the substantive provisions of the DSU in establishing their own working procedures? Working procedures. What does working procedures mean? For example, there is a panel established. How to conduct the panel proceedings? The panel will have first to establish a working procedures. How to conduct the proceedings specifically? Yes. We can call it in Chinese 工作流程, working procedures. Okay. The question is, can the panel modify the substantive provisions of the DSU in establishing its own working procedures? The answer is no. The provisions of the DSU can never be modified or changed. But the panel enjoys a certain discretion. But the premise is be in accordance with the provisions of DSU. The working procedures are rudimentary and more detailed. Ad hoc working procedures are useful. The working procedures stipulated by the DSU are rudimentary. Okay. Another small question, what's the difference between annex and appendix? For example, Annex 1, Annex 2, Annex 3, we've got 3 annexes. Then what's the difference between annex and appendix? Annex is translated as 附件, but appendix can be translated as 附录. In Chinese, it's not allowed. Except in translation circumstances. Okay. DSU is Annex 2, right? Then under DSU, we've got 4 appendix. Appendix. So we can say this one has a higher level, while this one has a lower level. We can see that. Okay, good. Another question. Listen. If the parties fail to agree on the composition of the panel, who decides on the composition of the panel? There must be members in the panel, right? How will the members of the panel be selected? The parties will have to agree on the composition of the panel. My question is, what if the parties fail to compose or fail to agree on the composition of the panel? Who will decide on the composition?
WT or Director General.
That's the correct answer. But because you are with the assistance of this slide, what if in the final exam, I will give you a misleading choice? The misleading choice would be the chairman of the DSB. Because we are talking about dispute settlement, then there must be a DSB involved. Then, what's the role of the chair of the DSB? Why Director General? Right? In the final exam, I assure you, I will test on you.
If you are not mentioned, I will write.
Yeah. As is often the case. Okay. Now, let's move on. To this part, written submissions and panel meetings. First, you can guess. Do you think the panel proceedings is just like an arbitration? There's a tribunal for arbitrations, right? There's tribunals. The tribunals will conduct oral hearings, right? But in this context, what do you think of the panel proceedings? Are they conducted on the basis of written submissions or oral hearings? I mean, will the panel appear before the parties, the complainants and the respondents, and conduct an oral hearing? Yes or no? Take a guess. That's our first reaction. Yes. For me, it's also a yes, but in fact, it's a no. Okay? In panel proceedings, look, written submissions. What does written submissions mean? In Chinese, it's called 书面意见. Written submissions and panel meetings. There will be panel meetings, but the most important part is the exchange of written submissions. The exchange of written submissions. That's the basic procedure. Okay. Good. Next question. How many written submissions does each of the parties submit to the panel? How many? As you can see, 1, 2. Yes, a first written submission, a rebuttal submission. That's the written submissions the parties need to submit to the panel? There are 2. Okay. How many substantive meetings does the panel hold? Good. And
2.
Can third parties attend to every substantive meetings? Yes or no? Only in one session of the second or first? The first substantive meeting. Okay, good. Next question. Can the parties have ex parte communications with the panel on matters under consideration? I'll repeat the question again. Can the parties have ex parte communications with the panel on matters under consideration? Which means the panel proceedings is underway. Then the complainant go to find the panelist in private, secretly, talk about something relating to the matter. Is that okay? Of course not. What does ex parte mean? Ex parte just means individually and in private, without noticing the other part. Ex parte. In Chinese, we call it no. This one. Ex parte communications. We also have ex parte decisions without either of the parties present when the judge makes its decision. Okay. Ex parte communications, ex parte decisions, ex parte blah blah. Okay. Next page. Okay. Finally, this thing comes again. What do enhanced third-party rights mean? Enhanced third-party rights mean? What do enhanced third-party rights mean? First, you need to know what is enhanced third-party rights. What does it mean? Enhanced third-party rights. First, we have third-party rights. Then we've got enhanced. Who got the enhanced third-party rights?
Developing countries.
Good. Developing countries, right? What are they? Third-party developing country members that had a major interest in the outcome of this case were allowed to attend the entire first and second substantive meetings of the panel with the parties, as well as to make statements at both meetings. Not just attend, it can also make statements. Well, what about the third-party rights? Can they make statements? No, and they can only attend in only one session of the first substantive meaning. Okay. So you need to notice the difference between general third-party rights and the enhanced third-party rights. The difference lies in the subjects. Who enjoys enhanced third-party rights? Developing countries. That's a privilege for developing countries, right? And that's why we say the WTO system is a rules-based system. And the poorer countries suffer. The poorer countries can get more benefits. This is a system where might does not necessarily means right. What does might mean? Might means power. Power. Might is not necessarily right. That's the charm of a rules-based system, a rules-based legal system, right? To protect the weaker than, to protect the weaker countries, weaker than. This is a word, a noun. Weaker than. I'm not a weaker than. 我不是弱者。This is not an adjective, it's a noun. To protect the weaker than, okay. Okay, next question. Are panel deliberations confidential or in public? Confidential. Good. Next question. What is included in an interim report to the parties? What is included in an interim report? Interim review. Interim means provisional, but here it can be translated into 中期. It's provisional, 临时, but here we translate it into 中期. 中期审查, interim review. Then, what is included in the interim review report? The panel subsequently issues an interim report to the parties, interim report, including both the descriptive sections and the panel's findings and conclusions. Okay, next page, next slide. Interim review is an unusual feature in judicial or quasi-judicial dispute settlement proceedings. What does quasi-judicial mean? Quasi-judicial. Question. I need your instinct reaction. Do you think the WTO dispute settlement is a judicial system just like those of domestic courts?
No.
Then, what's it like? It's a quasi-judicial dispute settlement system, okay? WTO dispute settlement is not exactly identical to domestic legal system. It is a quasi-judicial dispute settlement proceedings. In Chinese, we call it good. What's the translation for this? 王浩 Be seated. Okay. Be seated. 准司法 Okay. Next class, I will retest you how to translate this. Okay. I will remember. Please help me remember that. Okay, next question. Is a WTDS document a panel report or AB report? Oh, sorry. If you go to the WTO website, you can download lots of documents. And there is a kind of document entitled like WTDS, for example, like this one. This is the serial number of the dispute. Is this document a panel report or appellate body report? If it's an appellate body, then appellate body report, it will have this one. Of course, this is a panel report. This is an AB report. Okay. And WT stands for World Trade Dispute Settlement. Okay. Next question. If a party to the dispute formally notifies the DSB of its decision to appeal within 60 days after the date of circulation of the panel report to the members, will the report be adopted by the DSB? The answer is no, because the decision to appeal was submitted to the DSB, was notified to the DSB. I'll repeat the question again because it's important. I'll repeat the question again. Listen carefully. If the situation is like this, the panel report has already been finalized. 定稿. The panel report has already been finalized. Then one of the parties decides to appeal. Will the panel report be submitted to the DSB for adoption? This is a political body, right? Who adopts reports, whether panel reports or AB reports, they will be submitted to DSB for adoption. My question is, one of the parties decides to appeal the panel reports, then the panel reports, will the panel reports be adopted by the DSB? Yes or no? Look.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
So your point is, I would like to appeal. Then, before that, the DSB first adopt the panel report. Don't you think that's a waste of resources?
Yeah.
That's a waste of resources. So that's why it's a no. Will not be adopted by the DSB because the panel report is still waiting for an appeal. Why would the DSB adopt it first? Right? Good. Okay. Today, we finished almost all the content with only one slide left. Merely satisfactory. Okay. But it's okay. I'm satisfied. We will leave the next part to next week. Originally, I planned for Chapter 4, the WTO dispute settlement, only 3 weeks. But unfortunately, I think we will add another week for this chapter, okay? Okay, good. Then this concludes today's class. I will see you next week. Bye-bye for now.